I see that we are live. I see that we have currently 13 people viewing. Since it's 8:02, I will get started. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first ever multi-specialty career virtual summit. We're so glad you could join us today for this inaugural event. As you all know, ACOG, AOA, IDSA, Endocrine Society, and Healthy Careers have all come together to create this summit. We have assembled a standing lineup of industry experts and thought leaders who will share their knowledge and insights to help you set yourself up for success in your medical career. Before we get started, I want to say a special note from our top sponsor. RWJ Barnabas Health is a proud sponsor of today's multi-specialty career virtual summit. RWJ is dedicated to shaping the future of healthcare and providing the best-in-class patient care at all of their hospitals. Come discover exciting career opportunities with New Jersey's leading healthcare system. They are here today, so make sure to stop by their booth to learn more about their organization and opportunity. To kick off the day, we'll start with a Q&A session about thriving beyond the white coat, navigating career transitions, guided by certified physician coach Miguel Villagra. Get inspired, informed, and invigorated by the knowledge shared today. Thank you all for being part of the summit. Miguel, take it away. I'll share my screen.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. I'm very excited to be here today with you, sharing wisdom that I have learned over my career in internal medicine. First, I want to tell you a little bit about my background story. I'm an internal medicine by training. I'm board certified. I'm a fellow of American College of Physicians, and also I'm a fellow of the Society of Hospital Medicine. I have held different leadership roles among my career as hospital medicine. I get into telemedicine over the past few years, mostly coincidental with COVID. So I do also have some telemedicine work besides my clinical work in the hospital. And a few years ago, I decided to start, as far as my leadership role, to start mentoring physicians. I saw an opportunity to build a business as a doctor's journey. So I became a certified physician life coach, and I'm also a positive intelligence coach. I offer career advice to physicians that are interested into making a change or a pivot on their career. Among the audience today, we're going to have different from physicians, early, mid, late stage career, also residents and fellows. So you're all welcome to this event. Today, rather than a formal presentation, even though we do have some information to share if needed, I'm more here to try to answer any questions you might have. From my standpoint, I can tell you that first and foremost, life is in the transition. We all go through different changes, either from medical school, residency, fellowship, or life as an attendant. Whatever the settings we're working at, either private practice, community hospitals, academic, and so on and so forth. One of the things that I have learned over the course of my career is that having a framework that can help us gain the clarity of what is going to be the best next step for us, it's very useful when you get to sit on a table either to discuss with a potential employee or you're getting your feet wet into a potential career change. I have done multiple presentations about this topic. I'm also very passionate about physician well-being. I started my career as a burnout coach, and I offer career advice also to physicians dealing with moral injury and also, unfortunately, burnout. This is something that I always bring to the table, no matter what the topic is, that we need to take care of ourselves, and burnout is real and we struggle with it. We might not eradicate it, but we might be able to manage it. And I truly believe that physicians that are empowered and interested in getting into leadership position and drive a change within our healthcare system, that's how we're going to change and shape the future of our healthcare system 2.0. So that's the message I have for you today. It's going to be a very special day. We have a lot of interesting activities. I know more about a doctor's journey, which is my website, and I have multiple resources available on my booth that you can check along with this event. We have an amazing panel that will be coming later that we strongly encourage you to attend and assist, because you're going to gain a lot of clarity from physicians that are also going through the journey and the path of building their career in medicine, and they're going to share their insights. I truly believe in the power of storytelling. Like by telling the story, you can get insights that you can apply and shape your life and your career in general. I struggled with it for a long time, and through a lot of hard work, that's how I came across coaching. I was able to kind of gain what I describe as independent rather than freedom. I would call it flexibility. I have a very flexible schedule. I've been able to reduce my clinical shifts in the hospital, and that flexibility has allowed me to build another stream of income through different investment in real estate, my coaching practice, and I'm very passionate about all this. So I'm here to serve you, though. Therefore, I want you to make any specific questions you might have about either career change or what your next step might be looking at. But in the meantime, I can tell you that recently watching a video with the CEO of LinkedIn, which I'm very active, and instead of focusing on what career you're going to choose next, he was focusing on the fact that in the future, the focus in career development is more about the talents. What are the talents and the skill set that you need to build? He's quite fascinated because you might feel medicine is like, we know if we go through medical school, we have all this knowledge, all this training, we're amazing at our craft, but definitely we are not exempt from the fact that we need to develop some talents. I was mentioning the telemedicine part. I'm getting into telemedicine more, and there is skill sets that you need to develop, be more confident in the way you communicate in a virtual environment, remotely, and so on and so forth. So there are a few skills that I would strongly suggest anyone to develop, no matter what your career you're choosing to go through. One of them is adaptability. Medicine is changing. It's changing every single day. Unfortunately, physicians, and I've been there myself, we're not really good at changes. But unfortunately, artificial intelligence, all this new digital health and technology that is being deployed, there's a lot of research out there that we need to catch up with those changes. The second skills that I will say is quite important for any physicians is the communication skills. I'm not talking about communicating to your patients, of course, but definitely also build skills about communication when you're sitting at the table, when you're discussing either your contract or you're going through a negotiation process and things of that nature. So there are multiple courses and resources that we can discuss among these particular talents that any physician should be interested in developing, mostly those in early career stages. The third one is going to be leadership. I believe that you don't need to be the CEO of the hospital to develop your leadership skills. You can do it anyway, anywhere, in whatever way your path of choosing career is. I think that this is part of the path of any physician. I believe that any physician has the skill set to be successful in any career that they decide to go through. I can tell you and share with you amazing stories for different physicians that have decided to continue practicing or building businesses inside and even outside of medicine. Definitely, I think we had the leverage of the knowledge as far as we have the interest on developing any missing gaps in our knowledge. The last thing I will say is problem solve. This is something we need to focus on. The art of compromise when you're sitting on a table and negotiate your contract. Those are things and skills and nuances that we don't get in residency, we don't get in fellowship, we don't get in medical school for the most part. I think more new programs are integrating part of some of it. I was just mentioning technology. There are some new school of medicine that are implementing a lot of technology into their training, but I think there's still a gap that we'll need to close for any physicians that want to be successful in the future healthcare system that is being shaped by technology and all these new changes. So if there is any questions that you might have, please just, you should be open to put it in the comment box. So that way we can share with you some information. So as I was mentioning, burnout is real. 1 in 2 physicians are burnout. And I know that this doesn't apply only to practicing physicians. Also, it applies to residents and fellows. And this is something we need to pay attention to our well-being. The second thing is 2 in 3 nurses have burnout. 33% of physicians are planning to quit their job in the next 2 to 3 years. 55% are planning on going part-time. I've been there myself back in 2017. I was a medical director for a large hospitalist group. I got burnout in the process. I was very passionate. I had the best intention, but one of the things that I learned was that I didn't have the time when we go through residency and fellowship to even gain the clarity about what is the path that align with the values we have. One of the things I was ignoring at the time was my family. I know that when I reflect back into the path I chose at the time was that by ignoring that part of my life, it was the driver of a lot of dissatisfaction, even though I was so successful by my standards professionally. That's what tipped me to the sideway of going back to just clinical medicine at first, and decided to, instead of going to a corporate path, instead of that, start to empowering physicians through coaching, which is what I do now, and I'm so excited and passionate about. One of the things that we cannot ignore is the fact that among healthcare workers, suicide rate is so high. 400 physicians we're losing every year and 700 nurses. So this is something that definitely we truly cannot ignore. So my message to anyone that feels that struggle with any issues is try to seek help. Help is available. It's just that sometimes we ignore or we see it as a sign of weakness. And I saw it as such for a long time. Therefore, I neglected all these issues I was having. And until I get to a boiling point or even a breaking point is when I finally decided to get some help. Again, that's the point in my life where I pivot and decided to get into coaching. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this topic. One of the things that is important when we're talking about aging or careers is the clarity, but the only way to get clarity is through awareness, to be aware of what our blind spots are. Once again, we don't spend that much time to go over what that might be. I'm going to share with you, this is some of the most common cognitive distortions I see physicians, residents struggling with. And sometimes those cognitive distortions we need to work on to overcome those limited beliefs, and you can get the path that you want and find a more successful and I will say enjoyable career in medicine. The first one, precisely going back to burnout, is the fallacy of the patient comes first. That's the way we were trained, right? We're passionate about taking care of our patient. We love our patient. We're advocates of them. But unfortunately, we need to take care of ourselves. Otherwise, we won't be able to take care of others. We also have the perfectionism, that physician persona. Everything needs to check all the boxes before we make any decision on our life. That usually leads to analysis paralysis. Stop a lot of physicians that might be struggling with burnout and any other issues to even decide to make that first step toward a meaningful change. We need to battle our self-criticism. We have the imposter syndrome. Sometimes we don't feel we're enough for whatever we're deciding to do next. We have money scarcity. There's always a criticism of the W-2 employees that are rooted into their salary and they don't decide to make or take risks. We're so risk averse. That's something I see a lot among physicians. Finally, the arrival fallacy, which is the one I want to describe. In my career, as I was going through different changes from a physician, I was a hospitalist director for a small group of 7. Then I went to a larger healthcare system. At some point, I was leading a team of about 50 physicians and around 30 nurse practitioners. So that was a quite huge amount of time to manage all these physicians and nurse practitioners. I was checking all my boxes as far as my career path and my success in my profession, but unfortunately my quality of life was going in the opposite direction, and I ignored it for a long time. Is that idea that once we get to from point A, from B, I'm going to be happy, or from point B to C, I'm going to be happy, and so on and so forth. But that never happened, because we need to bring, again, this level of awareness of what your top priorities are in life. That usually give you that insight of what to do next. So we have a question right now. Is from Greg. He is an infectious disease fellow, and he has suffered from burnout during internal medicine residency in the midst of COVID. He's been slowly recuperating from this time in medicine, and he's appreciating the message I'm spreading. I'm going to tell you, Greg, well, first, thank you for having the courage to share your story. I can tell you without knowing you that I'm very proud of you to have this first step, or at least acknowledge that there is a problem. Because believe me, there's a lot of physicians that are, I would call it, they're suffering in silence, basically, because they know there's something wrong, and yet they fail to take any action or even to acknowledge that something is going on. That's one of the things that I try to raise, as I said, awareness among physicians. We need to take care of ourselves, because otherwise we cannot take care of our patients. I have seen it over and over again. I'm one of those believers that at least you need at least 4 things to get to that point of have this meaningful and joyful success in life, in medicine, business, whatever the path you chose. One is, of course, profession. You need to be successful, and hopefully you have the background, your leadership team to support you to be at your best. And unfortunately, that's one of the things that we're missing a lot. Therefore, that's why we need more physicians in leadership role. The second thing is relationship, whatever you want to call it. You really need connection and social connection, and that support that I call the backup team that will help you and push you through the challenge of the journey of practicing medicine in the United States. The third thing is finances. I always bring the message of try to take care of your finances. Unfortunately, physicians are the typical target for a lot of schemes that expose them to not the best financial decisions for their life. So I always encourage physicians to either learn, as I did, or get good advice about how to manage your finances. We also need time for ourselves. Or solo time is quite important. Time to reflect, time to recharge. I'm a true believer that we need to take your physical, but also our emotional health and your level of energy. Your level of energy is through the day. Those fluctuates over time, but unfortunately, when we're always running with our batteries at the low level, that compound over time and takes a toll on our mind and bodies. I will say very obsessed with building frameworks that you can deploy and into your life and your career. And one of the things when I was doing leadership in hospital medicine, I still consider myself a leader. I'm leading a few quality improvement projects. I did a lot of quality improvement research to reduce risk in the hospital, and I was able to publish some of these papers and even present in some of the summit of the Society of Hospital Medicine. But the point in case is that you can use some of these frameworks and try to bring them into our life. One of the things that I think physicians sometimes we're not good at is to build a good efficient flow that can allow us to be efficient with our time management. I think that is one of the things that technology I see clearly is coming soon to help us shape and make us more efficient. As far as my increasing network through my coaching business, through a doctor's journey, I've been able to meet CEOs of different new healthcare startups, and I can tell you, there's a lot of artificial intelligence driven applications that are in the pipeline and will come soon, will be available to improve our workflow, including scribes features, automatic billing features, and things of that nature that we'll see when it will be available for most physicians, like the frontline providers. But I can tell you that I've been able to test some of this new technology and the results are quite impressive. What I like about this movement is the following. A lot of these new healthcare startups are coming from physicians. Are physicians coming up with ideas, connecting with the right people, and building these new products. So I'm very excited to support these efforts to the extent that I've become an advisor of a couple of healthcare startups that are working on similar projects to make us more efficient on our daily practice. Definitely, I think that those are few things that at least stopping us from spending that much time sitting on a computer, making dictation, typing, and so on and so forth. I think we have at least more time to spend with our patient, which is what we love the most. All right. So this is a roadmap that I have used for anyone that is interested on a career change. And once again, let's define career change or career transition. That could be, of course, someone coming out of residency, looking for the first job, or coming out of residency and decided what fellowship they want to do, coming out of fellowship, going to practice, and what could be your best next step. One of the things I always share with my clients is actually, I don't tell people what to do. I just show them what they know. They already know, but they're not aware of. And one of the things, once again, I was mentioning is to come up with what are your blind spots, the things that you don't know what you don't know, or things that you have not seen quite yet. And getting to a point of being more insightful about what is your next step gives you that clarity, that confidence. Not only confidence, like confident now, but self-confidence on what you can become in the future. So one of the things that I always encourage anyone to define is going to be what are going to be your core values, your values to what are the most important things that is driving you, make you excited, make you powerful. I can tell you that from this insightful knowledge, I come up with what is called the non-negotiables. What are the things that you cannot negotiate on your next job? And sometimes it's not only money. A lot of people focus on money, which I think is nothing wrong with that. I think you can get into a table where you can get as much as you deserve for the work you're going to perform. I'm all for it, but you cannot ignore other aspects of your life. The best example I can give you is in the case of my family. That's a non-negotiable. I go and have dinner with my family every single night. Any position that will affect that, I'm not going to go for it. It's just as simple as that. That's a non-negotiable that I have set for my life and my career. Is it easy? It is not. It took a lot of work and effort, but I was able to get it and make it happen. It's just a matter of sometimes physicians undervalue the power and leverage of negotiating when you're sitting on a table. I'm not saying that you can have all endless possibility, but definitely in the art of compromise, when you know clearly what you want, it's going to give you one step ahead when you are sitting up on a negotiator for a contract to give. The second thing is a career portfolio. It's not just about building your resume, as I said. It's about
building of talents that you have.
Also the ones that are missing. Because if you're pursuing a career that doesn't have or require things that you don't have yet, you can definitely narrow that gap by going through. Nowadays, it's so easy to learn anything. It's just a click in YouTube and you can learn and become even like creator of chatbot through artificial intelligence for your business, as I did not long ago, by the way.
To get some of this information and knowledge.
That you don't need formal courses, but the third part that I always encourage physicians is get to the right group. Right now, I'm in Santa Monica with other coaches. We're building a mastermind that we're working on. So get on the table with the right people that inspire you, support you, and empower you, and get the right mentors too. I'm all for mentorship. I'm all for coaching. That has definitely drastically changed the way I see my life and my career. Finally, again, get to leverage social media groups. Use it mindful of. There are amazing groups of physicians that are getting into business and career changes and so on and so forth. A Doctor Journey is my website if anyone wants to connect. And we have a lot of resources for career change, for burnout, and all those resources are definitely available for anyone interested into. By the way, I want to make an announcement that for those that attend this event that we're hosting right now, the panel that is coming later, and they can at least connect on my virtual booth where my assistant is going to be answering any question you guys might have. We're going to do a giveaway of 2 tickets for, I'm currently enrolling on my coaching program. I have 2 offerings. One is the one-to-one, is my
Revitalizing the
offering directly with me, and I have another one that is a small group coaching through Positive Intelligence. Those 2 offerings are separate and you can check it on my website, but we're giving away one of each for those that are attending this event just for being here. And the reason we're doing this is that, again, that's part of my value, my mission, to spread the word about physician well-being and be able to empower physicians, more those that are coming out of residency. You are at the perfect stop to shape a career that is going to be meaningful and create a huge impact in the world and medicine in general. So we're getting right on time for the 30 minutes. So if you guys don't have any questions, we will close soon this live broadcast. And I'm hoping to see you in a few hours on the panel. We're going to have 4 amazing attendees from different medical associations. They're going to be sharing their journey and their stories about their struggles from going from residency or fellowship out of practice. I think it's going to be extremely useful for anyone at any stage of career that is entertaining a change on their life. And thank you very much.